Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot. So it's now been a bit over 6 months since I first got my SPB313 over here, the Slim Turtle as some call it. And yeah, in my first video, I was pretty much gushing over it. But since then, I've gotten my Captain Willard, the first one I've ever had, the Ice Diver version, and I absolutely love the brand new SPB333 because I love gray, and also the fully blacked out version with glowing indices, the limited edition. I forgot what the reference number is for that, but both of those are just like oh man, like so tempting. So in this video, I'm going to go over my experience with the SPB313 over the past 6 months, you know, what I love about it, what I don't love about it, and if it's managed to fend off all these amazing new releases from Seiko. So yeah, let's get into it. So the main thing that I love about the 313 is the dial and bezel combo, because it's my first ever watch with a white dial and black bezel, because I usually like white dials with steel bezels because I don't like the look of a dark bezel with a light dial. And I say usually because for some reason when I saw this for the first time online, it just worked and it just slowly pulled me in over the months. So yeah, I took a risk in buying it, and so far it's been one of my absolute favorite features of this watch because it's a combo that I've never seen on my wrist, and the novelty has yet to wear off, and I hope it never does. But yeah, I love that the white dial is a crisp matte white dial and the bezel is a matte black aluminum, because a shiny ceramic bezel would just look off in my opinion. And I said this in a different video, but I don't see the use of aluminum over ceramic as a cut corner. You know, I see it almost completely as a design choice considering how different the two materials look. And you know, since this SPB has a matte old school look, you know, kind of toolish, I think that the matte aluminum is perfect. Going back to the dial though, the shape of the indices are spot on as far as I'm concerned, especially this classic Seiko split shield at the 12. And the cool thing is that the lume looks kind of light bluish in a lot of lights, which I really enjoy, but the actual color of the Seiko LumiBrite lume is green. And I don't know how that happened, and I'm not gonna complain about, you know, Seiko LumiBrite because it's always, as you know, as anyone with a Seiko diver or watch knows, that's super bright. But it just would have been really cool if this one for some reason had blue lume, because I love me some good blue lume. And finally, I happen to really like the placement of the 430 date window, which I know is going to ruffle many feathers out there, but the implementation is pretty much as good as it gets for a 430 window, because it's, you know, obviously got a color matched disc, and then Seiko actually made a custom date disc so that the numbers are level, which, to be honest, I really did not expect from Seiko. I thought that that would be a cut corner over there, which a lot of brands do, but they didn't do it. So good job, Seiko. And yeah, I mean, do I prefer no date or a date in a different position, like in the 6 o'clock position? Sure, but you know, honestly, over the past 6 months that I've had it, it's pretty much disappeared, and I really enjoy that because I got to have a date, and then also I got to enjoy a full set of loomed indices, which I prefer. Next up is the case, and it was one of the biggest attractions when I first got it, and it still is absolutely incredible because here we've got supposedly, you know, slim turtle slash slim Willard case that's 12.3 millimeters, which, I mean, it does make it the thinnest Prospex diver from Seiko, and it does make a difference on the wrist mainly because of the amazing shape of that mid case. The mid case here is pretty simple. It doesn't have all the extra contrast beveling that you see on other Seikos, but you know, that's what I love about this case. I love how it's just very simply brushed all the way through, which gives it a bit more of a tool watch feel, and then the swooping shape along the side looks just so elegant and striking. I mean, I just love it when, I mean, anything really watches obviously is simple and it's beautiful or striking, compelling, what have you, because then at that point you're just getting like the pure essence of the design. So yeah, simple is not boring if it's done well. If it's not done well, then it can just be awful. And because of the way the sides flow, it helps the watch wear closer to the wrist, which in turn makes the whole watch wear much thinner. And you know, with that amazing bracelet that I'm going to talk about next, it's just like the best case and bracelet combo that Seiko makes, at least in terms of ergonomics, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Next up is the comfort slash bracelet, and they're together because the bracelet plays a huge role in how the watch wears, and I happen to love this 5-link design of the bracelet, and the fact that I haven't seen it on any other Seiko watch was a huge draw for me because I really felt like I was getting something unique and not like something that I've owned before. I also absolutely love the fact that the sides of the bracelet are fully brushed, continuing on the brush sides of the case, which makes the overall design much more coherent, and it just makes the watch look, once again, more tool watchy. And I mean, in general, I just love brush finishes over polished finishes. And then on top of all of that, the bracelet itself is actually a normal thickness, and I say that because the bracelet that Seiko has on the SPB143 and the Willard is much chunkier, and all of that extra metal makes the watch feel much heavier as a result. And obviously those aren't deal breakers for those watches. I love both of them, and I own the Captain Willard, but I prefer a lighter watch overall. I mean, I love titanium and I love my Pelagos, so that makes sense. And as a result, for me, the SPB313 is much more comfortable in the long run, and comfort is accentuated because of the normal Seiko things like the case design being very ergonomic to the wrist, and then also obviously not having any sharp points that just like irritate the wrist and things like that. So once again, good job on the bracelet. Mostly. I mean, kudos for making something that's actually different than you. And the bracelet is back again, this time in the dislike sections, but the main reason why it's here is the clasp. So across the board, I don't like the dive extensions that Seiko makes. I just can't stand that when the extension is not being used like 99% of the time, it extends the clasp and makes it sit weird on my wrist. And I know that there is some articulation with the extension, thank God, but it's still more restrictive than a link would be, because see, the extension doesn't go all the way far back, and then also it doesn't bend down nearly as much as a normal link would. So that's strike one. Strike two really shouldn't have been a strike since it's unique only to the slim turtle, but that's that the clasp itself has only 2 micro adjust holes, which is just not enough, and they probably did it just to make the clasp look a little bit more elegant and smaller. So then what's the point of giving it a dive extension? You know, give it the full clasp, let it be the tool watch that it absolutely can be, or if you're going to try to make it more elegant, leave off the extension. And strike three is that, you know, this is all more irritating because the quality of the clasp found on the Slim Turtle, the SPB143 and the Willard are good. I mean, they're nicely finished and they're mostly milled, but here I am using a, but here I am using an aftermarket clasp. Where is it? Over here. And I mean, granted, I am really liking this clasp. I mean, it makes it nice and light and things like that, but yeah, still shouldn't have happened. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I'm not really a fan of Seiko's link construction because, you know, it kind of looks like a multi-link sort of like hooking system. That's as far as I can tell. See it over there a little bit. Instead of 5 links across, it's kind of like a few pieces that kind of hook together. I don't know what's happening. And yeah, most of the time it's fine and it's comfortable, but the extra seams lead to more places where wrist hair can be pulled. And yeah, I mean, it does happen from time to time, but once again, not really a deal breaker because most of the time it is fine. So this is a kind of dislike because I guess the unique thing about the Indices is that they aren't actually, you know, just jet black. They're more of a black chrome. So in some lights they do look jet black and a lot of times they do look dark, but in different angles they can look gray and then just very, very light. So yeah, I mean, when I first got it, I said that it would look cool and that it gives, you know, the dial just more variation and more lights because I do enjoy that. And while that is still kind of the case still, I would have much preferred having a set of absolutely just like jet black, matte black hands and Indices, just so that there's gonna be like full contrast all the time against the really stark white dial. And yeah, it just would have felt even just like more purposeful and intense. And the weird thing is that the second hand is a matte black hand, so it stays black the entire time. So I'm sure they could have done that for the rest of the hands and the Indices. That being said, the vast majority of the time, the difference between the two finishes on the dial is not very noticeable at all, despite how sensitive I am to color changes and things like that. Oh, and I also have to add that the red dot on the second hand makes a huge difference, despite it being such a tiny detail. I don't know, it just really pops. So yeah, there you have it. Let me know what you think about the SPB313 or the other watches I talked about, and be sure to check out these videos that YouTube thinks that you're gonna like and enjoy. So yeah, until the next video, good day.